What's going on, my friends, my family, my fellow gamer? It's your boy, PorterRock77, and I'm back with another video. Check out the description box. You'll see the link to my Twitter. Hit me up with a follow so we could continue the conversation. You'll also see the link to my PayPal if you choose to donate. But if you don't, it's all good, because what's important is what you're doing right now, which is checking out the video, hit up the comment section, hit me up on Twitter. You know, I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel and just checking out the content and being part of the conversation. Now, on to the video, right? Oh, and also if you're new, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do like it, you know, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell so you can see more content, and check out my podcast that I host every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Right? So now, what do I want to talk about? I want to kick off from an opinionated article from Forbes, right? And it's titled "How Sony Could Meet the Challenge Presented by the Xbox One X." Right? So let's talk about that for a minute, okay? Now, the reason why I want to talk about this article is right before, I guess this article came out just right before the new year, but already, and granted, it's an opinionated article, but I think articles like these is going to misinform gamers, right? And we're going to lose sight of what's important for the next 2 years, right? This article is primarily talking about the power of the One X and what Sony's going to do or what they need to do to combat it. Right? Before I move on and give you my opinions about it, I'm going to read the article. Right? I'm also going to link the article in the description box so you can read it yourself. But bear with me, all right? And this is an opinionated piece. It says, as 2008 dawns, the Xbox One X stands alone as the most powerful video game console you can buy. Months of pre-release hype were fulfilled when the One X launched in November. The console's beefy specs, and it lists all the specs that it has, have already been leveraged to enhance many games to levels no other console can match. Sony's most powerful console, the PS4 Pro, isn't in the same league. And that's generally true. Right? In a pair of previous articles, I've argued that if Microsoft takes advantage of the window of opportunity opened by the One X lack of competition, 2018 could be a very good and possibly game-changing year for both the console and the Xbox brand. This article will take a look at how Sony might respond and some of the challenges it will face. So far, you know, the person who wrote this article, his name is Kevin Murnane. I hope I pronounced his last name. We're just going to call him Kevin. So Kevin is using the power argument once again as a game-changing event that's going to shape the difference or shape what's going on in the industry between the Xbox brand and the PlayStation brand, right? Now, to continue with the article, it states, the longer the One X remains unchallenged, the worse the consequences for Sony could be. Thus far, Sony has remained silent about their future plans for the PlayStation. This leaves everyone free to speculate about what Sony might do and when it might do it. In other words, we can have some fun unconstrained by company announcements. And that's and right there, that paragraph right there, that's pretty much what he wants to do. You know, this is more like, I don't want to say clickbait, but this is good bait. But I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this article and what I could possibly do over the next year or two, all right, if more articles keep appearing like this. Now, first point he makes, an upgraded PS4. Sony will almost certainly meet Microsoft's challenge with either an upgraded PS4 or a next-generation PS5. It would be in Sony's best interest to close Microsoft's window of opportunity as quickly as possible. The fastest way to do this would be with an upgraded PS4. What might such a machine look like? All right. One possibility is that the next PS4 is more or less a match for the One X. The downside of this approach might be the perception that the best Sony could do is an unexciting Me Too console. The upside would be that Sony's superior stable console exclusives would come into play as a reason to choose the upgraded PS4 over the One X for people who want the best graphics and performance. What about the cost? This might pose a problem for Sony. When $500 was confirmed as the price for the One X, many so-called experts said it will not succeed because $500 is too much to pay for a console. Strong initial sales indicate they were mistaken. Meanwhile, people who understood the specs generally thought $500 was a steal for technology. Microsoft packed into their new console. The One X is a remarkable technical achievement, and Sony engineers may struggle to match it at the same price point. If they can, and if Sony opt for a Me Too PS4, it better do it fast, because the more times go by, the more Microsoft will be in a position to undercut a new PS4 with a price drop for the One X. Another possibility is that Sony could produce an upgraded PS4 that's more powerful than the One X. One way to do this would be to attack the One X at its weakest point, the CPU. Both the One X and the Pro have 8-core AMD CPUs. The CPU in the One X is 200 megahertz faster than the Pro. This is enough for the One X to produce frame rates that hover around 5 FPS faster than the Pro for many games. If some technical terms are unfamiliar, check this guide. The One X enhanced versions of games like Hitman, Witcher 3, Middle-earth, Shadow War provide modes that emphasize either frame rate or visual quality. The console isn't powerful enough to maximize both at the same time. A more powerful CPU will go some way towards fixing this problem. If Sony can combine a CPU that can lock on 60 FPS with a GPU that can match or at least come very close to the One X outstanding graphics capability, an upgraded PS4 will own the world's most powerful console title. More powerful CPU and GPU produce more heat, and the heat must be dissipated without resorting to fans that sound like there's a jet engine warming up inside your gaming console. This won't be easy to do. It may be impossible to do at a $500 price point without Sony taking a loss on every upgraded PS4 as well. A next generation PS5. Sony could opt to allow the One X to continue as the console performance king until it releases a next-gen PS5 that blows current-gen consoles out of the water. This will be a very risky strategy unless Sony can release the PS5 during 2018 holiday season. The longer the One X reigns supreme, the more the perception of the One X as the go-to console if you want the best is likely to increase, and the more sales gap between PS4 and Xbox One is likely to narrow. It's almost certainly the case that Sony and Microsoft are working on their next generation consoles. However, there are too many unknowns to speculate about what these consoles will look in terms of tech specs and performance capabilities. A console that can produce native 4K resolution at 60 FPS would be ideal, but that may not be possible at a price consumers are willing to pay. Timing is going to be critical. If Sony releases a much more powerful next-gen PlayStation before Microsoft can bring its next-gen Xbox to market, it will have turned the tables and put Microsoft in the same position Sony is in now. However, if the two companies put out equivalent next-gen machines at the same time, the time gap between then and now becomes a significant factor. If 2 years or more go by before the next-gen consoles appear, public perception that the Xbox is the most powerful console may present an obstacle that is difficult for the PlayStation to overcome. Whenever it's released, a next-gen PS5 has to come to grips with backwards compatibility problem. Sony has dominated the current-gen console space because of the Xbox One's spectacularly mishandled launch, the original PS4's performance advantage over the Xbox One, and the PS4 outstanding lineup of console exclusives. Microsoft has overcome all of these problems except for the console exclusives where Sony holds a commanding advantage. If Sony's next-gen console isn't backwards compatible with the PS4, the advantage disappears. I kind of agree with that. Not totally, but we'll talk about that. Backwards compatibility is a concern because it is a significant weakness of PS4. Earlier generation Xbox games can be downloaded and played directly on Xbox One. Xbox aggressively adds games to its backwards compatibility program, and if you already own the game, you don't have to pay for it again. PlayStation turned its nose up at Xbox Solution and opted for a streaming service with a $20 monthly price tag for previous generation games, whether you already own them or not. Kind of messed up here. The screen just stopped. Okay, we own them or not. Sony's going to have to do a lot better than this if it wants its outstanding collection of PS4 exclusives to be a factor when people decide which next-gen console to buy. Meeting the challenge. Microsoft has put Sony in a difficult position. Really? Okay, we're going to talk about that. The One X is a graphical powerhouse that is arguably the best console one can buy. The longer that's true, the more attractive the Xbox brand becomes in the console space. Sony will have an answer for the One X. What that answer will be remains unknown. Whatever it is, sooner is better than later from Sony's point of view. Really? All right. The best outcome for players will be a console market in which Xbox and PlayStation are competing on roughly equal footing with roughly equal machines. The fanboys will rant nonsensically about console wars, while the rest of us enjoy the benefits of two superior and economically securing gaming consoles. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. But whatever happens, 2018 could be a very important year for the future of console gaming. Now, I like that last part. I'm going to read the last paragraph again to his article. The best outcome for players will be a console market in which Xbox and PlayStation are competing on roughly equal footing with roughly equal machines. The fanboys will rant nonsensically about the console wars, while the rest of us enjoy the benefits of two superior and economically securing gaming consoles. That statement right there proves to me that you know about the console war, you know about fanboys, and this article is for them. You did not create this article for the non-fanboys or for the enthusiasts or for people who are interested in gaming. You didn't. Let's cut the bullshit. You wrote this article for the fanboys. And I'm gonna say to you why. Number one, Sony's not in a difficult position at all. It says, you even wrote, Microsoft has put Sony in a difficult position. Really? Really, because of graphics. Let's look at facts, all right? And I'm going to start with Ground Zero, November 2017 MPD. Just Ground Zero. Because at the end of the day, Sony and Microsoft released these consoles so they could sell them and make money off these consoles through game purchases, DLCs, and all that stuff. That's what game consoles do. When a consumer goes buy a game console, they're going to keep buying games for that very console they just bought. That's ultimately the end state. Okay? In order for Microsoft to put Sony in a difficult position, they have to sell more consoles than what Sony's selling. That's being put in a difficult position. Because saying you got the most powerful console, yet people still buying the competitor's console doesn't mean anything. You could jump up and down, you know, until the world ends or whatever, saying we got the best, we got the most powerful. But if more people are buying the other one, it doesn't mean anything. All right? Okay? Leaked numbers, all right, from what One X sold in November here in the United States, based on MPD, was 430K. I want you guys to understand that number. 430,000. Okay? Now, before I move on to that, most of you will be thinking, why are you even talking about this? The reason why I'm gonna talk about this is because articles like these are gonna lead us in a different track. And what I mean by that is we're not gonna be paying attention to what's most important over the next 2 years, because we're still gonna be talking about power. On the PlayStation side, you're gonna have enthusiasts or fanboys brag about the potential PS5 that's coming for the next 2 years, or the upgraded PS4, the PS4 Pro. That's all you're gonna hear is shit talking, right? And then on the other side, the Xbox camp, they're gonna talk as if, oh, Sony's done, Microsoft got them pinned to the wall, you guys are out here begging for more power, you ain't got it. So they're gonna be talking about power. PlayStation's not gonna be talking about power. And both groups are going to be missing the big picture, which is games. Because that's what it's going to be all about the next 2 years. It's not this power shit that this dude is talking about. All right? So now back to what I was talking about. MPD, November. Xbox One X sold 430K. All right? In November. The launch month, which is the biggest month of the shopping season. And it so happened to be the One X's launch. Xbox overall sold 1.4 million. So which is the product that sold the most just within Xbox alone? It's the Slim. Majority of people who wanted an Xbox didn't even buy the One X. And I'm just talking within the group of people who want to play on Xbox. And even those people didn't go out to buy the X. They went with the Slim. So even within the realm of Xbox, Microsoft can't convince the majority of people to go buy an X. That's just within the Xbox world. We're not even talking about PCs and PlayStation fans. We're just talking straight up Xbox enthusiasts. Or people, I ain't gonna say enthusiasts, people who just want to buy an Xbox and play on an Xbox console. Whether they want to play with their friends or they just want to play some of these games on their own. For whatever reason, the majority chose the Slim. So even in the world of Xbox, the One X is not even the dominant primary console for the month of November. Alright? Now, in the same leaked numbers about One X sold 430. That number is apparently double, almost double than what PlayStation Pro did. It said that PlayStation Pro in November sold around 260,000 in November. The overall PlayStation 4 family sold 1.5, so do the math. PlayStation Slim sold around 1.3 million. Right? Now think about that. 1.3 million in November in just the United States alone. 1.3 million. Now let's do a little math. If the One X in the United States is the primary, is the biggest market for Xbox. If the One X sold 430K in November, then chances are the rest of the world at best match that number. Because there's not a lot of regions that in the world that buys Xbox. You're not gonna get them. Xbox sells generally low in Germany, France, you know, all the first world European countries. Doesn't sell high. UK is like the biggest consumer purchase of Xbox outside the United States, right? Asia is pretty much insignificant. Xbox don't really sell that at all. So at best, the rest of the globe matches United States. So let's say like around 800K for the month of November, right? And let's assume for the month of December, One X sells just as much as it did in November. Highly unlikely, but let's pretend. So 800K November, 800K in December, that's about 1.6 million worldwide in 2 months. The PS4 Slim sold 1.3 million in just one region in just November. Think about that. 1.3 million in just the United States, just the month of November, compared to One X's worldwide sales for 2 months. Does that sound like Sony is pinned in the wall? Does that sound like Microsoft put Sony in a difficult position? Imagine worldwide sales of PlayStation in just November alone. PlayStation usually sells on just the holiday season around 6 million. Microsoft has done nothing, has not done anything to stop the Sony train. Right now, despite the fact that Project Scorpio was hyped since last year of June, we're talking last year, since June 2016, of hype of the beast coming, Scorpio effect, all this stuff. Yet during all these months and months and months of anticipation and waiting, and then the launch of the Xbox One X, despite all that, PS4 did the best ever in the brand history. 23 years of PlayStation history, and the PS4 has done the best. What position has Microsoft put Sony in when the majority of the people are buying PlayStations? All right, just simply saying, "Oh, Xbox has the power," doesn't mean anything unless it impacts the choices consumer make. If the release of the One X caused PlayStation sales to drop significantly because people went and chose the One X, which made Xbox the primary platform to purchase, that is how you impact Sony. All right? That's how you put them in a corner, because then Sony's be like, our consoles is not selling as much as before. Ever since the release of the One X, our product has been selling less. We got to do something, because we can't go month to month after month of our console selling less. That is when you put Sony in the position, But they didn't. If anything, they're doing better than they ever done. At this point, Sony's not even worrying about Microsoft. It's over. The console war is over. There's nothing this One X is going to do. It's just not going to do nothing. All right? So this constant talk about power, all it's doing is taking away from what we should be talking about. All right? Okay? Microsoft is not in a better position than Sony right now. They're not. They're not even close. They're not in the position of dominance. They're just not in a better place than where Sony's at. This war is over. There's nothing Microsoft's going to do for the rest of the gen to even compete with Sony, all right? What we need to focus on the next 2 years is the current state of gaming, right? Sony's dominating, so Sony's fine, right? What we need to work on with Microsoft is talk about their publishing studios, because it's hurting them. That is the most important part for Microsoft. You understand? The idea is this. An Xbox console gets its identity of being Xbox based on the games it can play, and you can't play on another device. That's what makes it Xbox, right? Because if the Xbox console is nothing more than a Call of Duty machine with superior graphics, then it's no different than any other machine out there. PlayStation plays Call of Duty, PC plays Call of Duty. The question is, what makes this Xbox? Now, of course, there's other things that makes it Xbox in terms of social, the social activity, where your friends are at, the party chat. That's the person, that's the people side of Xbox, But at the end of the day, let's say if Xbox disappeared tomorrow, all those friends and people that they're just going to go on PlayStation or on PC. And you'll have that same social activity with them there anyway. So people move from platform to platform, especially if they have no choice but to move. Look at all the Sega fans. I was a Sega fan. You know what I'm saying? We don't have Sega consoles no more. So a lot of the Sega fans went to another console. That's just the nature of the beast. The 2018 is not about what Sony can do to combat power. They're not creating another PlayStation 4 Pro. That's not happening. They don't need to. They already shown that more people will go out and buy a Slim over the One X. So why would you spend the money creating another console to compete with the X when the X is already being beaten? If the X can't surpass PlayStation in its launch month, which is the biggest hype for the console, when is it ever going to sell outside the PlayStation? It's just not. So Sony's not worried about that, all right? What we need to focus on, all right, is the reality. Microsoft's first-party studios. That is an important segment of the Xbox brand. And I'm not talking about, create the game Sony creates. No, I'm not saying create your own The Last of Us or create your own Detroit or create your own, Persona 5. No, whatever you individually create for the brand, create it for the brand. But you need to create it. You need to build up the studios. You can't have just 6 or 7 developers, right? And you can't have one studio that has 400 employees just focus on one game. That just doesn't make sense. And I'm looking at you, 343. It doesn't make sense for 343 to be that big and all they do is make Halo. It doesn't make sense. Why are they that big just for one franchise? And yes, it's a big franchise. Guess what? Uncharted is a big franchise. Yet, Naughty Dog still makes The Last of Us. You see what I'm saying? You can handle multiple projects. And that puts out more content for the platform. I don't see why you would waste such manpower. Right? This whole deal about power, it's as if people don't know the definition of insanity. Insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome. Listen, the power narrative is dead. It's got killed. Right? It didn't work. Now, for those who got the One X, you guys are enjoying the graphics. As an enthusiast, it's a great console and you guys are enjoying it. Nothing wrong with that. But that console's not gonna fix what Microsoft needs to fix. Right? What they need to fix is how they prioritize their gaming output, their exclusive library output, their studios, how they handle the studios and projects. That is the biggest black eye. Because at the end of the day, regardless of the text and the specs, it's a gaming console. And when you're a company that produces your own gaming console, you're responsible to make games for that console. It's your console. You're the one responsible to publish and create and develop games for that console. So Microsoft has a responsibility to create games for that console. It's their console. They need to have the publishers, just no different than Nintendo has the Switch. They're responsible to create content for their own platform. And Sony is responsible to create content for their own platform. That's just the nature of the beast. But an article like this, I think it takes away from gamers focusing on what we should be focusing on, from talking the topics that we need to talk about. This, we don't need to talk about this. But what this article is going to do is people are going to read it and then they're going to focus on this. And you're going to have PlayStation fans talk about power, PS5, or rumors of PS4 Pro for the next 2 years. And you're going to have Xbox fans talking about One X is the beast, it's the best, Sony sucks, their backs against the walls, what you're going to do, you better release a new one. No, none of that is, all of that is irrelevant. While you guys talking about power, the real battle is games. Because that's real. Because at the end of the day, more people are buying the Slims month after month, not the One X. So you can't say the One X or even the Pro are relevant when those are the least sold platforms. And it's both the Pro and the X. They are the least sold platforms this generation. And they will continue to be the least sold platforms month after month after month. Those consoles are only for the enthusiasts. Hardcore gamers, right? And they're not going to move the needle in terms of how they're going to shift this gen out. It's too late. Like I just told you, 1.3 million PlayStation 4 Slims was sold in 1 month in one region, compared to 1.6 million One X's in 2 months worldwide. That's an irrelevant. You can clearly see the One X did nothing in terms of putting Sony in a position where they have to worry about anything. It's done. This gen's over. The console war is over. There is no more console war. All right. If you guys talk about console wars only because you're no different than that one Vietnam dude that's still in the jungle after 30 years, still thinking he's sitting there waiting to snipe somebody. Listen, the war's over. It's just what we need to focus on is on the stuff that, one, where these companies don't repeat the same mistakes that they made before, and two, hopefully they get the message that creating first-party studios and creating games is an important part, an important responsibility when you release a console, right? Now, the one thing I do want to touch on is the backwards compatibility, and I made a video about this before. Yes, PlayStation 5 needs to have backwards compatibility. It's not even a discussion at this point. Yes, I know some of you are going to say, well, I don't need it. Cool. You don't need it, but it needs to be there anyway. Just because you don't need it doesn't mean somebody else doesn't need it. All right? PS5 has to have backwards compatibility. Whether you use it or not is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you use it or not. What matters is that the console has to launch with minimal negativity. All right? That's just the bottom line. It has, or we saw how we saw it with all the negative press the PS3 got. We saw the negativity the Xbox One got when they launched. PS5 cannot launch without backwards compatibility. It's going to make the console look terrible. All right? Because people are going to say a next generation console can't even do something a last gen console did. It's going to look bad. Right? Now, I would say most likely PS5 will have backwards compatibility because it's x86. That's number one. Number two, PS Now is not that successful. All right? I know some people say, oh, it's not going to have it because of PS Now. PS5 is not a successful venture. It's not. All right? Let's look at the reality with PS Now. All right, we know how many consoles are sold from PlayStation. PlayStation tells us how many total game sales they have. They told us how many active users they have. They tell us how many PSN Plus subscribers they have. They tell us how many PSVR units have been sold. They even told us how many PSVR games have been sold. That's a lot of information, right? Do we know how many people subscribe to PS Now? Have they ever mentioned that number? Have they ever talked about how PS Now subscriptions are growing? Even if it's a percentage. PS Now subscriptions grew 15% year over year or whatever. Do they even say that? No. They say nothing about PS Now. Not a peep. Nah. You know it's crazy when we know PSVR game sales and we have no idea what's going on with PS Now. It's because it's failing. It's not a successful venture. That's just how it is. Sony's going to have to do something. So I'm telling you, PS5 is going to have backwards compatibility. It's going to have it. That's not an option. Also because it's x86. x86 makes it real easy. So when the PS5 launches, you're going to have day one, all games backwards compatible with the PS4. And not only that, I would assume because it's x86, developers, third-party developers, they have the option of making games for the PS4 and PS5, kind of like cross-gen, and it's going to be a lot easier. Where the game could be played on the PS4 and it's played on the PS5 with better graphics and better res, okay? Sony, I think what they're going to do is when they make PS5 games, it's going to be 100% PS5, not playable on the PS4, so they could take advantage of PS5 hardware. Eventually, third-party developers will end up. But in the beginning stages, since the majority of the people will still be on PS4 and the PS5 has low numbers, you're going to see a lot of cross-gen games between the PS4 and the PS5, where the PS5 version is just, you know, the better-looking version. But it's not a built from the ground up PS5 game. And they have to do that because it doesn't make economic sense to create a game from the ground up just for the PS5. They're not going to bring back the money. So they're going to take advantage of the PS4 fan base up until the point where they feel comfortable of making it exclusive to PS5. We've seen it before, okay? Sony's going to take a gamble because at least with the exclusive to PS5, it sells consoles. That's why they're going to do it. Yeah, the game may not sell 5-6 million because there's no 5-6 million PS5s, but they want 5-6 million PS5s out there more. So they're going to have to put the exclusive content out there to make people buy PS5s. That's what they're going to do. All right? So anyway, long story short, this article clearly is for the fanboys, right? 2, it's going to take away from what we should be talking about because this power thing is done. It's a dead issue. Don't brag. You know, enjoy it if you have a 1X. Enjoy the power. Enjoy the 4K textures. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you think that's the key to Microsoft's success for the next 2 years, you're sadly mistaken. We need to let Microsoft know their first-party studios, their publishing capabilities is what's most important for the brand at this point. It is the key for Xbox success down the road especially. They need to build those studios. They need to push out games. They need to have creative developments. They need to be smart with how they manage the people they have now. Again, 343 being that damn big and they only make one game makes no damn sense. It just doesn't make sense at all. All right? But anyway, this is your boy PorterRock77. Let me know what you think about this video. If you enjoyed the video, you know, hit up the comment section and stuff like that. And let me know what you think. Hit me with a comment. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you can see more content. This is my first video 2018. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed your New Year's, and I hope you all had a safe time with friends and family enjoyment. All right. But until then, it's your boy Porter Rock 77, and I'm out. Peace.